you can see that the next thing I have was a computer that I added. So I'll click back. And one way to move this around, you'll notice that, I've got this scroll bar down here at the bottom. So I could scroll left or right. Or I can go view, show all. I've got all this space over here. So one way to move your document around is by clicking on the space bar, and it gives you the hand tool. Or you could choose right here the hand tool, and this just moves the entire document. So I want my computer to go over onto the right side, so I'll select that and I'll click File, Open Image, and that was a Dell computer. So I'll click Open. This was the Dell computer. Now again, to bring this into my masthead, what I'm going to do is select this image and click here where it says background. On this image, click hold, drag it on top of the masthead image and let go. And then now it's inside my other image. Let me zoom out, show all, and you can see that there it is inside. Okay, and it's on its own layer. And actually look at how it's wedged itself in between these two layers. So what I want to do is actually I'll just drag it up on top for now. Now to resize this, because it's way too big, I want to go up to Edit, Free Transform, and you'll see that I have my handles. I'll hold my Shift key down, and I'll resize it, move it over here to a size that I like. Actually, this time I think I'll make it a little bit bigger. So, okay, so I'm happy with that. So I can hit Enter on my keyboard, and again, I want to get rid of this white. So what I'm going to do is use my wand tool, click in the white, and then notice how it's selected just the white, and I'll hit Delete on my keyboard. Control D to deselect. Now if you notice here on the edge, there's a little bit of a white outline. Some of the pixels, the white pixels, didn't get picked up by the wand tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the selection tool to get rid of it. And to do that, I'm going to click here. If you hover over this tool on the toolbar, second down on the right, it's called the lasso tool. I'm going to select that, but I'm going to switch from this tool up here in the options bar. I'm going to choose the polygonal lasso tool. And now I'm going to zoom in slightly here, okay, and use my hand tool to move it around by using the space bar. And I'm going to go back to the lasso tool. I'm going to click once and then drag, and you'll see how it's following. And I'm going to go around, and I'm just going to trim this. And I'll double click and I'll hit delete. Control D to deselect, and you can see that's a much nicer clean line there. Okay, you'll notice that there's kind of a texture to this, and the way I did that was applying a filter to this layer as well. So I'll go back to Pixlr, and here's my computer. I'm actually just going to move it slightly to the right. Okay, now with this layer selected, I'm going to make sure I'll name this computer. Okay, on the computer layer, I can turn that on and off. You'll see it turns on and off. I'm going to go up to filter, and I believe I used scan lines, maybe 22. Click OK, and you can see that it's given it a texture. The other thing that I want to do to this computer is add a little bit more color, a little more saturation. So I'm going to go up to Adjustment, choose Hue and Saturation, and I'll move it over here, and I'm just going to increase the saturation. And you can see how it just, if I go all the way to the left, it takes all the color out. By going to the right, it just increases the color that's there, which is this blue color. So then I'll click OK, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to do is to create an interesting background. If you look at the original, I've got a keyboard in the background, but yet you're still seeing this gradient. And the way that I did that was by making this keyboard extremely translucent. So what I'll do is go back to my image, File, Open Image, and it was called Apple Keyboard. I'll click OK. Now here's the keyboard, and again I'm going to move it. Actually, let me get rid of this guy here. I don't need the Dell computer anymore. So I'll take this keyboard, and again I'll click and hold on this background layer, drag it into the new document, and you can see right now it's right on top. I'm going to go View, Show All, and I'm using the Move tool to move this around, so I can move this keyboard around. Now actually I think what I'm going to do is make it a little smaller, so I'll go up to Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to hold my Shift key down and then left click and drag it in slightly, and maybe about there. Okay, and so that looks pretty good that size, so I'll click Enter on my keyboard, and now you notice if I turn this on and off that it's sitting on top of everything. Now one thing I don't want is this white here on the edge, so I'm going to use the Marquee tool, which if I click you'll notice I can either have it be rectangular or it could be elliptical. So I'll leave it as a rectangular Marquee tool. I'll click and drag, and then I'll hit Delete on my keyboard. And I'll click and drag down, hit Delete on my keyboard, and now you can see that it's cleaned up the edges of the keyboard. Now, what I had done is, first of all, I'm going to drag it underneath the computer and the two brain layers and let go. So now it's in the background. It's underneath the brain and the computer. So, and then with this layer selected, I'm going to go up to Opacity, and I'm going to click and drag it to the left, which lowers the opacity setting to say 20. So now you can see that you can see the keys, but it's not white and it's not dominating the image. And you can see the gradient underneath. So, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at that. Let's see. Now, I also took the time to put in a bunch of numbers, but I'm not going to worry about that for this demonstration. The next thing I'm going to do is use the Type tool. So I'm going to click on, if you look down here in the lower right of the toolbar, it says Type tool, or you can hit keyboard shortcut T, but I'll click on that, and then I'm going to click anywhere inside my document, left click once, and you'll see that it opens up this text dialog box. So here I will type the digital lobe. And now with this still open, I can go and I could change fonts by clicking on the drop down menu here and go through the fonts, choose a font, and you can choose a font size, and you could choose a font color. And again, what I'd like to do is I like to pick up colors from my document, so I can use the eyedrop tool to come over here and choose a color from my image. Okay, so there's a color, that's a red from the brain itself, and I'll click OK. Click OK. So now I have a layer with text on it. Now you can see, here it is. It says the digital lobe, and it's its own layer. And anytime you use the Type tool, it'll automatically create a new layer. You can see that it's created a new layer for that. Now click OK. And if I don't want this layer, I can either right click on it, click Delete Layer, or I can click on the layer and click on the trash can and it will delete it, or you can click on the layer, hold, and drag it on top of the trash can and it will delete it. So there you have 3 different ways to delete. Okay, now if I want to add a drop shadow to the digital lobe, I can click down here on the Layer Styles button, or again I could right click and then choose Layer Styles. I'll select that and I'll move it out of the way so I can see what's happening here. And I can select drop shadow, click on drop shadow, and then I can adjust it. The distance, you can have it far away or you could have it really close. Typically I like it pretty close. 2 or 3 works well. And I can increase the size slightly, maybe to 2, and it'll soften it up. And again, you can adjust the opacity, which is how much shadow it's actually producing. So in this case I'm going to go quite high. I'll go to 90 and click OK. So, and if I want to move it around, I can click on the Move tool, upper right of the toolbar. With this layer selected, I can move this around. Okay, so that's it for this exercise, and what I'll do is I'll post individual movies for each of the tools. So if you are new to this or if you struggle at all, there'll be plenty of movies for you to watch.